So what we're going to talk about today again is we're going to go over element distribution on the planet Mars to give us a good idea as to how we're going to proceed to create a mission to collect the resources on Mars. And first what we're going to do is we're going to set up some imaging here. First what I'll do is I will bring up the web page and we'll go to the game in a bit. This is the site that we used in the last stream to talk about where some of the resources are located. Now I've got to get this thing updated over here. It's marstrek.jpl.nasa.gov, and you can take your mouse and you can move things around. This valley right here has a name, and to find a name we can go to Google Mars and we can see it on here. We could look up, it's probably a canyon, so we'll look up canyons and you can see different names that's on here. One of the principal resources that we're going to use is called olivine. So if I go back to my wiki page for looking for that particular mineral, we'll see that it has a green color and the wiki page talks all about it. It's sort of a two-part mineral, magnesium silicate or iron silicate. So when this is melted, it breaks down into two forms, and you can separate the magnesium and the iron out in a certain proportion. And for the purposes of the Mars simulation, I just, like, see right here, MgFeSiO3 and MgFeO. For purposes of the simulation, I just separate out the magnesium, the iron, and silicon dioxide, and there's oxygen loss in the process. You can't do everything perfect in the simulator as far as separating out resources and that sort of thing, but you can come close. So now we'll go back over to this track page here, and we're going to look for the Gale crater. So to do that, we'll just go on search and we can type in Gale and click on that, and it will show the Gale crater as a little dot there. Oops, I just lost it. I have to X this out and then go back to the layers. Now, right now I've got plagioclase and calcium pyroxene to show up on the map. So we can zoom, we can look in this area and we can see the red area that has high levels. This is all done by this TES thermal imaging that was done by the Odyssey spacecraft. And if we go to space images, well, there's JPL's got images. There's some other sites here I'm trying to look for, but okay, right here. This is grs.lpl.arizona.edu, and it has another list of resources by what was used by the gamma ray spectrometer on the spacecraft Odyssey. And if, let's see, that's not quite the site that I was looking for. But anyway, there is another site here that talks about the spacecraft Odyssey, and I was kind of looking for it. Well, these are some other websites. The thermal emission spectrometer, that's the TES. That's the image that we just looked at. Abundance of silicate mineral plagioclase. This is the website that talks about the different instrumentation. There's all kinds of stuff on here, but I just wanted to show you that. And the website is msss.com for Malin Space Science Systems. So let's go back to we want to go back to the Google map. No, we won't go back to Trek here. So we're going to back out on this a little bit here. We can see where the Gale crater is. And somewhere in there is that valley, which we can't quite see very well. So if we drop this back down, perhaps we can find that valley in relation to where Gale crater is. I don't remember the name of it. Right here. Now, if we wanted to look for olivine in relation to where Gale crater is, which is what we're going to use for our mission in the game, in the simulator, you can see it's a fair distance away. We could look up olivine, and what we do is we'll scroll down here, we add this data set at the bottom, and now you can see all these little marks here where the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter was able to find patches of this olivine. And of course we've got to go back to the Gale crater again because we have a new data set added here. I could close this out. I lost Gale again. Bring up the layers. So we know that there's concentrations of olivine in this area. Let's see how far we can zoom in here. Quite a ways. Now this is just sort of a graphic relief type of a map. You really can't get in there too close. In the simulator itself, we will probably, I think we have our landers going to be somewhere around these hills, and we can turn up some of this other stuff here. We can see if there's any. Let's see, it looks like part of that is gone. We don't have access to this area in the yellow. Those are higher concentrations of this plagioclase. I don't know why that frame is sitting there. It's kind of stuck in there, isn't it? I don't think it's a higher resolution. Actually, that is pretty high. I don't know. Let's see if there's a resolution difference here. Oh, there is actually. It's a lot clearer here. So we could probably go over here. Now, if we look, if we can't find, on the Google map we can't find, I don't think we can find, this is just a geological map, it doesn't show minerals or that sort of thing. Let's see here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my pictures and we'll go to the pictures over here. We're going to go through the locations of where I can't see it over on my screen very well, but we're going to look at the distributions of the minerals on Mars. And we're going to use this map here as a reference here. So now we've got the location of this canyon. Let me just see if we can get the name of this here. It's I can't remember the name of it. I should know this, right? Let's see. Anyway, if I go to, I believe what I can do is I can minimize the web page, and then I can bring over my pictures, and I'm going to just scroll through the pictures here real quick. I think there's, okay, so if I zoom in on this here, that's called Valley Marineris. And what we're looking for is where the Gale crater is and where the different areas, we want to learn about the different areas near Gale crater, because that's probably where we're going to do our final mission. Now, before we do that, we've got to go over and look at the silicon and the iron and how the map relates to what we're looking at. So if we, let's see, if we move in on this, you can kind of see this line right here. There's different sections of the planet. There's Meridian, what's Meridian or Meridiana, Diana B, and then there's an MERA, which is over here. Gale crater is located, and I think I'm going to sneeze. Somewhere over here, and we're going to see if we can figure out where that is. I don't think there's okay, see where opportunity is here. That's where Gale crater is, I believe. And what we could do is we'll bring up the website here, and We'll Google the MERB Explorer Mary Diane Planum is where that landed. Now here it says mission highlights and over 2 years studying the Victoria crater. Now I don't here it says that's the Endeavour crater. Oh, the Victoria crater's over here. So let's look up the Gale crater and see which rover. The rover Curiosity went to the Gale crater. The general landing area for the Curiosity is over here. And we can actually zoom in on that. Well, I guess we can't. Oh, we can. So we can get a good look at the Gale crater here. And where the Curiosity landed in this area here. This valley, or this, see where this valley is here. The part of the game map only covers from north of where that that deep canyon is. It doesn't go all the way out into the plains over there. So that's the Curiosity rover, and if we go ahead and bring up my viewer again, which happens to have ended up over here. Oh, the Gale crater is way over here on this map. Well, that's where the Curiosity landed. Okay, so if that's the case, we have to go in that area over there, don't we? So let's see. There's a big blue splotch there, which I'm assuming is this here. Now see they only show an outline right here, which I believe if we zoom in on this map, I still don't know. Oh, wait a minute. This MERA. This area here that's outlined could be that big blue area, which is over here. And maybe, well, Gale crater could be over in this area. I'm not sure if you can see that. There's Gale crater. And it shows it on the edge here. Let me go back to the website again. Just scoot down here. Gale crater. Map of Elysium Planitia. Gale craters on the lower left. Aeolus quadrangle gale. Let's look at this here. There's the Gale crater there. There's Molesworth, Graft. That probably is not going to help. I don't know why I can't scroll with this. It's kind of weird. Curiosity landing site. Quad map includes. Oh, this is. There's that Deep Canyon area. Yellowknife. Pretty neat. Alluvial fan. I wonder what that is. Alluvial fan near the Curiosity. Built up by streams. The fan is about to be full. So it's probably just like, I don't know, something to do with movement of particles either through water or the atmosphere. So anyway, that would be Gale crater. If we go to Google Mars, Gale crater is here. This is more of a flat type of a map here. That's not Gale crater. Gale crater is here. Let's see if we can zoom in on this. Let's see what we've got here. Doesn't really show that valley very well. Is that really Gale crater? Okay, see, there's that mountain there. I'm gonna zoom out here. We're going to study the crater here momentarily, but I'm just trying to figure out. Oh, I can see now the delineation. And there's that mountain up there. So we're like where this is all flat here. There's a big crater there. And then there's this big blue splotch. So let me minimize this and try to bring this back over. So there's the big blue splotch. There's Gale crater right there. Okay, now I can see that there's a big crater here, and then there's the little green one, which is Gale crater. So if I go, let's go all the way back to. I can't go there just yet. That's not what I'm. This one here. Okay, now. Well, this is hydrogen. Let me go to the olivine. There's Gale crater there. Here's the olivine map. Now, All the dark areas is where the olivine was located. VM is your Valley Marineris right there. This purple semicircle is bands of hematite that supposedly were discovered. I'm trying to get a feel for where this is located. And it's pretty much impossible. But it's generally showing an area north of that. And the hematite it doesn't show up on this in this map. It's really hard to read to figure this out, where everything is here. Let me go back to this guy. This is a sulfur concentration map, which I couldn't find the... There's Pathfinder here. And I think that's... There's Meridian A. Okay, so here, if we zoom in here, so there is, I think that's where there's a sulfur concentration here, but it's not very high where Gale Crater is. Can't have everything, right? So now we can see this delineation on this map where this line goes all the way across here. Now let's go back. Well, let's go ahead to... This is surface heat flow. And over there they believe that possibly that was volcanic activity. It doesn't look like there's considerable heat flow over here. Now there's the big crater. There's Gale Crater right there. So that's kind of in a marginal area. Let's go forward here. This is the water equivalent hydrogen abundance. So if we zoom in on here, we can see, okay, we can see that there. There's the big crater. There's Gale Crater right there. So there's hydrogen abundance is in the green around Gale Crater, and the green shows 6%. Now I had a notebook that seems to have disappeared. This isn't it, is it? Yes. Where I wrote down percentages, and I wrote some stuff down in my notes about the percentages of the minerals and elements on Mars. There really is no... Well, I've got H2O at 2%. Here they've got hydrogen at 6%. So there's a possibility that H2O in the form of ice could exist around Gale Crater at 6%. If hydrogen is at 6%, then we have to divide that by 2 because there's 2 hydrogen. So, I mean, maybe 2% is a good number. So what I could actually do is on my notebook here, we'll check off that H2O, water and ice is at 2%. And I'll just check that off. Now let's go back and see if we can find our way over. Now this is the sulfur, so we can go back here. We can see a percentage number up there. So we should be able to find see I can't there's this line here, Meridiana A. No, I've lost it here. Wait, that's the sulfur. It's not the map I want. Where did the map go that I wanted? I think it's this one. So you can see that big mountain, right there. Those two together. I am guessing that if we go to the sulfur content, yep, there's the two mountains right there together. Let me go back over here and see. It's down there quite a ways. So we found Gill Crater. Oh, there's the line here for MERA. I have to find that line on the map here. MERA. This isn't what I'm looking for. I thought there was another. Oh, I wonder if this is the demarcation line too, but I don't. I see the two. I can see the two on this one here. The two hills. Okay, they're over here. I think I'll bet you any money where that is, but I could be wrong. MER. Oh, maybe I wanted to go back here. That's right. See over here on the right where there's this round circle. And then there's the two things up there. So in this case, silicon is kind of at a low area here in the green, and iron is in the orange. It's right up there. But my question is, I don't have another delineation for that line. Oh. You see, it might be this orange right here. That could be the delineator, is where that orange is. Oh, okay, so the olivine is all in this orange down in here, where the olivine map here, it shows that it's blue. And there's this delineation here, but that's down there quite a ways, isn't it? So that could put iron almost into the red. And silicon's pretty close. And the sulfur probably into the red. So now if we continue with this chart, there's Valley Marineris, and let's see if we could just scoot in here a little bit better. So we're up in this area over here, I think. So there's a lot of the green and some of the white, iron, magnesium. That's your olivite. So we already looked at some of those. I still don't know about this picture though. I still don't know about this picture. The other craters which I don't seem to have a list here, that the game can use. The other possibility was Victoria Crater. Now I don't know exactly where that is on here, but we can look for it. Oh, it's over there. That's what. See, when I looked at this on the map, it looked flat. It looked unappealing. It did not have valleys. It did not have the spectacular erosion that I'm looking for. Like, this would be the whole game map, this quadrangle type of a thing. That's why. Well, let me just X out of this and then bring back the layers up. We know where that is. I don't know which. I think we have that on the map here. So if we go over here, and we go back to our list of landers. That's the Opportunity lander right there. So there's Victoria Crater. So let's go back and look at the olivine, which obviously I seem to have lost it here. There's the olivine. Hematite's got more iron in it, but there's some sulfate. I mean, the sulfate would indicate more possibility of pyrite. That's Meridiani, where Opportunity landed. Low hydrogen concentration. Very low sulfur. Hardly no sulfur there. So Gale's looking pretty good. Okay, see the little tip that sticks out there? That's this here. And I don't know where it is on this map. So if we go look at our iron and silicon, I mean, there's more of it over here. There's definitely more opportunity for the more minerals over there. So that's pretty much what I wanted to look at here. Now, what we're going to do is we'll go back to the website and we can look at some of this other stuff here. we know where Gale Crater is. Okay, I think we do. I believe that's Gale Crater right there. Back up a little bit here. We could study the features. So you can see where around that crater, around the edges here, is where a lot of this deposits are from where the impact was created. And the wind was probably blowing towards the south. So that would tell me that most of the material is probably going to be towards the southern end of the crater, the way the wind is blowing, the way the wind took everything here. Now I don't know see, aluminum doesn't show up. I looked for pyrite, that didn't show up. There's no calcium. I don't know if that probably doesn't show up. SULPH, sulfur. There's sulfates, water polyhydrated sulfates. Hydrated silica, carbonate, clays. We'll add that data set here. The opportunity is over by Victoria Crater. You can probably check that out. There's really nothing to show up here, unless if it's actually in here. It's closer in these areas. So there's a lot of clay, more material down in that valley. Definitely. I don't know why that doesn't work right there. It might be a different area. I don't know. But it's okay. It just tells me where most of the materials are down in this valley here. Now what I'm going to do, we're going to go to this picture, which I don't seem to have posted. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to go over to here real quick, and I'm going to drop the web page. Oh, you know what I did wrong? I had images put up in front of the layers. If I bring the web page back up, you can see the layers that I was talking about here, which I seem to have decided to hide. Remember, we was looking for plagioclase down here. So you can see, if we back out on the map, we can adjust the level of the plagioclase materials. And you can see where a lot of that is towards the southern end. And then the same with the pyroxene. So you can see that. So anyway, that's that part of it. And let me drop the web page real quick, and I'm going to go and look at, I have to look at my web page to bring up a link for the resource that we're using in the simulator. So on this chart you can see some numbers, and I also read a PDF chart regarding the percentages. So we're going to compare what I wrote down to what I've got written down on the paper. I'll do that first. So the magnesium, now all of these numbers are going to be multiplied by 10%. We're going to assume that in the game, if we have an 8% of a quantity, it's going to be actually 80% within that soil. So Na2O is 20%. MgO is 60%. Aluminum oxide is 80%. Silicon dioxide is 40%. Potassium pentoxide, I already got that written down in the game. It's like 5%. Silicon trioxide is at 40. Chlorine, potassium, they're all 5%. Calcium oxide is at 60. All the other ones are low. Iron is at, I put it at 20%. Nickel is at 30%, which is not even on this list here. And zinc is at 20%, which is also not on the list. Titanium oxide does 5%. All the trace elements are at 5%. K2O, 5%, 5%. And that takes care of that list. And zinc is at 10% for zinc. Now I'm going to go back over here just for a second. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to drop the web page. I'm going to bring up my mod notes, and I'm going to bring up my synthesis note, and I'm going to bring up the collecting the Mars here, and then go back to my notes. Then I'll bring this up on the site, on the stream, hopefully. Now I don't know why. It's because the images, no KMT comment. I don't know why that's doing what it's doing. Oh, I see why. It's just bleeding over, I think. I can't tell if it's cut off or not. I think it's okay. I gotta look on my stream here. Yeah, it's cut off, isn't it? Yeah, the whole thing's cut off. So what I'm gonna have to do is we'll grab the information for the notepad here. It's just some technical stuff that I gotta do. No, I can't even. I'm not even on the right one. That's not the right one either. It's got to be one of these freaking notes here that it's keying on. Now, see, it's taken up the whole area, so I don't know. Actually, it'd be even better. Why don't I just take this off? Let's see if that works. I don't think it's working. I can't freaking tell. I gotta bring this over here. Everything's gonna get messed up for a minute. This is the technical part of the game, which just does not work very well sometimes. Yeah, I think it's working now. Alright, so if I look at my notes, my mod notes down here, and then we're gonna scroll up to our percentages. Now, the first group of notes that, well, it looks like these are the notes that I wrote down right here. So we've got basalt, which is a common bedrock on Mars, 45 to 55% of silicon dioxide. Now, if I look at my list, you know, I got 40%. As I recall in the game, I'm using 40%. So I'm going to check that off. 2 to 6% alkalis. Titanium oxide is in 0.5 to 1%, and I got that. I put it at 5%. Now, in the game, I use 0.5 for some of the others. No, 5%. I use 5%. .5. Yeah, I use 5% for titanium. But there isn't that much of it there. I'd have to change it to 1%, which is what this other list shows. If I go, a 1% is 100 to 1 units of titanium. We don't really use that much. And then what I do is I recycle the soil. So in other words, like if I want to collect titanium, so what I'll do is I'll go to my this list here, and hopefully it shows up. Well, actually, wait a minute. Let me just bring this over here. It should bring up the whole web page. It should put it right on top here, or there close. All right, so let's. I gotta make this smaller again here. Everything's. I just lost it. Let's see here. So titanium is probably. It's probably in the soil, and we're looking at 1%. And we can reuse that soil. So let's say we were to collect some trace soil, and we collect 4 elements: zinc, chlorine, manganese oxide, and chromium oxide, and they're all at 0.5%. So we use 20 units of soil and 1 unit of those elements, and we get our 0.5% out, or we get our 1% out of the 20 units. That leaves us with 16 Mars soil trace 1. Now I can create another I could even use that same soil if I wanted to, and take out the titanium, and I got boron already taken out. These are all 5 outputs. That's 5 outputs. Those are all the chemicals that I'm taking out. And the titanium, oh, actually we're not using titanium. We're using tungsten. And that's another issue. But anyway, that's sort of that process that I was doing, and I didn't mean to get into that aspect of it. Now let me go to the other list that's on here, and hopefully that shows up. And I'm not seeing it show up. It's because I don't know which one is being used. See, I'm using, it must be that one there. I'm using only one notepad to be able to show everything else here. Okay, so if we look at our list, we've got let's see, 5 to 14% weight of iron oxide. I'm using 15%. Actually, I'm using 20. And more silicon oxide. Contents of calcium oxide are near 10% weight. I'm showing it as 60. This other listing has it at 7. Magnesium is commonly between 5 and 12, and I've got it at 60. You know, I don't know where this information came from. High alumina basalts have aluminum content of 16 to 19. You know, again, I'm up in the 80% for that. Bonanites have magnesium, MgO upwards of 15%. Again, 60% I'm using. Alkali base salts may have sodium oxide and potassium oxide contents of 12% or more. For sodium, I'm using 20. So some of these chemicals, you know, it's like you don't really know. And I mean, some of it's close. Well, the silicon dioxide, did we do that? Yeah, we got that at 40. So everything's already in the game as far as my amounts. And so there's 2 other things. So if we wanted to look for sulfur, we'd be looking for this pyrite, and we'd have to split it, and we wouldn't really get a lot. But there's also the possibility of methane vents where we can collect hydrogen sulfide, and we can collect the sulfur that way. So now if we look at olivine, the olivine has the magnesium and iron in it, which I talked about earlier. I've got 25% iron. This is 25% iron. I'm not sure why it says that, but let's see here. Let me bring up the web page again. I'm going to minimize this stuff here. So olivine. I don't know where I read those percentages. Chemically speaking, it's 1 unit of each per silicon dioxide. So when I do the split, I come up with 1 of each. I could use the web page as a backing. So split Mars. Let's take a look here. So olivine is a rock. There should be split olivine here. So I just split the olivine out, and then what I do is I have to split that using heat or pressure or whatever. And we get for 10 units of olivine is 40% magnesium, 40% iron, and 20% silicon dioxide. So there's two oxides plus the 20% of silicon, and these numbers represent percentages. So you've got 4 and 4 plus 2, and then plus 2 units of oxygen. So they all add up to 10. Most of the output percentages are supposed to work that way. Now, there's also chemical. If we do a chemical split, it's not based on percentages, it's based on molar. So you get aluminum oxide and carbon to do the split, and you come up with the molar property of that particular. That's a chemical split, whereas olivine is a mineral split. Now, the iron oxide and magnesium oxide have to be split. So it's a whole day process to do the 3 splits: one for the soil, one for the olivine. First you collect it, then you've got to split the olivine, then you've got to split the iron oxide. Where is that? Here. So the iron oxide and carbon monoxide are put together, and you come up with a low grade of iron, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So because of the low percentages of iron in the sand, which I also get at a 20% rate, whereas with the olivine I get it at a 40% rate. There's more iron in the olivine. How did I come up with that? I don't even remember. Maybe I'm making an assumption. You know, it's a simulator. What are you gonna do? But seriously, I got this at 40%, and I wrote down 25% over here, which that would mean that there's 40% of iron, 40% of magnesium. Oh no, I've got 40% of magnesium. They're the same. plus you've got the silicate, which is SO4, so that would be 10% of the silicate by weight, which is, I don't know, what are you gonna do? I'm not gonna say it. So you split the iron oxide, you come up with the low grade iron. Then what I do is I take, I gotta rearrange the formula a little bit, but what we're doing is we are synthesizing an alloy out of the iron, and what we have, we take the low grade iron. There's two major steps. There's one for the small processor and then one for the large processor. Well, the small one, both of them use soil and some portion of water. I've got to change that a little bit. It's sort of like a pig iron, but carbon is used in pig iron. So I've got to rearrange that. We don't use as much water in that synthesis. I have to go back and fix that. But so for here, we mix the soil with the low grade, then we mix the water with the low grade. We come up with an even distribution, and then we're not adding iron. We're only adding the manganese because there's always sulfur. There could be sulfur in the iron, so we got to separate the sulfur out. That's an important step. So there's 0.5% of manganese in the solution. That's part of the process. Then we take that LNR3 and we add that to nickel in a 6:4 ratio. So we've got, oh, you know what? Wait just a minute now. That's not going to be correct. That's going to be a 5. That's going to be a 5 and 4. That's going to be a 5 and 4 because there's no aluminum in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to output I'm synthesizing iron. Oh, the manganese is already there. I've got an idea. Yeah, let's do that. So how we do that is we're going to copy this iron here. Oops. And we're going to create a sulfur. See, we're already collecting sulfur without even looking for it. And that's going to be 1 unit of sulfur. So we've got 5 units of the LNR3 with the manganese and the other units, and then the nickels. So we've increased our gain from 2 units of iron oxide, and now we have the low grade iron in this LNR, and the manganese is in there and everything. Then we take 5 units of that, which is all iron, okay, and then 4 units of nickel, and we get the output is, I've got 10 units of iron here. I'm wondering if it should be 9 units. So this is supposed to be a percentage, and this is where I always messed up. I think it's supposed to be 9. I mean, you've got 5 over 4. There's a percentage missing, so it'd be 5 over 10. I mean 5 over 9 plus 4 over 9 equals 9 over 9. So yes, I believe this is a 9. So if we go to an online calculator, and we type in 5 divided by 9, that's a 55% ratio of iron to total units, okay? Now, eventually, that's the first, we've gone from 20% to 55% by adding the nickel, so that's not too bad. Now, eventually, we add aluminum to that, and then we get a 6 to 10 ratio, which is 60%. So we've gained another 5%. It's not a lot, but I think we can do it, and I think it's sort of practical in the game. I mean, who knows, right? So that's sort of the process of how I am adding this alloy in order to use the small amount of iron that's available. Now, there's also a fair amount of sulfur content if we looked at that map. And how you can actually search that is you could go to sulfur, gamma ray, and Mars, and you go to images, and there's images down here. There's a that's silicon. That's actually another silicon map, which that goes to that web page, which probably is not there. There's a mineral analysis chart. Abundance of high calcium pyroxene shown at the left. I can't make those bigger, but I can see here. What am I looking at? I forgot what I was looking at. Sulfur, yeah. So if we look at here, there really isn't a lot of sulfur, but I mean, you can see there's a green area. It doesn't show the higher sulfur content. The images are different. I mean, I don't know, you know, there's some places show a lot more, some places show less. What are you going to do, right? So I think we're pretty much just going to use the chart that we've got. Here I've got, I don't believe there's that much sulfur. I think it's a 20% sulfur yield. So in the game itself, when we're wanting to play this game, now we've got an idea as far as the images, how we want to do this, and I can probably just, I'm going to scoot this image right over on top of the web page here, and I thought I had an image of you wait just a second. I want to do something. I want to do something else here. I'm going to take off the web page. I'm going to go to my, let's see here. I did something wrong here. It says desktop. They must be in the pictures as JPG. Oh, maybe they're in the pictures and I have to move them. Gale crater. Nope, they're not there. I took some pictures of, oh, they're right here. Why didn't they show up? Let's see here. Let me bring up the image file again. No, they're not showing up. That's really strange. Let me go back in here and see if I can bring those images up. I don't know what the heck's going on. Something's not right. Okay, they're showing up now. Let me see if I can bring the imager up here. Alright, good. So if you remember looking at Gale crater on, there's a chart here that shows sodium trioxide somewhat abundant levels. I want to go back to that website. And of course now it doesn't show up. Let me just go up here and look for it here. Now, I don't know why I'm having problems with my web page not showing up. It's just upsetting. It doesn't work the way I want it to. Alright. Now the images is showing up here and it's not supposed to. So if we look at this, I don't know if it was, I don't remember where I saw it now. It wasn't on this web page. It was earlier in the stream when I showed the coloring. Maybe it's on this. Maybe it's on here anyway. Let me go back. You know, that would explain why there's this sulfur content down here. There might have been a crater and an impact, and then everything went south, the wind and whatever. I thought there was another image that I had that showed that distribution of, but I can't find it. I don't know where it is, but it's on the stream earlier. So if we look at Gale crater here, it doesn't really, this one here shows the valley that we were talking about, and that's kind of a closer view. Most of the olivine, I believe, is going to be down in that valley, or in this valley that's down here at the bottom. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out this landing site, because we don't really have a good means of traversing the area, as it were. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the game, and I'm going to talk about basically how I can set this up. So we'll go to the editor and we'll go to, actually no, let's go to a scenario. Most of my scenarios are in Gale crater anyway. We know now that it's the Curiosity rover. Analyze the basins of Gale crater, making tremendous discoveries. This is a 3-hour scenario. So that will be pretty cool. We can probably do some of these other ones, you know, to see what's going on with those. But we'll load up ZS9 here. So pretty much I'm using what I got down for percentages. The only problems are the manganese oxide or magnesium oxide and maybe some of the other ones. Maybe I can drop those levels down because I don't use that much magnesium, and we have to look for, we have to do the tungsten. So I could actually do that in a separate stream, how what the deal is with the tungsten. So we've got just a basic setup here. Nothing that I'm going to do. Well, actually, I'll just go ahead and run this really quick here and show you how easy this is, except for the fact that I ran into that. So, since I ran into it, I'm going to plant it in the ground here with this tool. This is the large refinery, which is used in the more advanced processes, and you've got to install that in order to use it. And you hook up these power cables, and then that's radiation, is that sound that you're hearing. And then we go to this viewer, and you can see all of the reactions. And now I've got problems with this. It's not working. Well, actually, I don't have the mod installed yet, but it just shows you the reactions that take place where you convert. These are the reactions for the vanilla part of the game, the original game. This is not my mod, but it just kind of gives you an idea of what that's all about there. And you put these resource cans in. I think I got some iron kicking around here somewhere. It might be that one. No. Well, we'll just throw something in here. Now these rates, the timing rates on this are going to be a lot faster because they're not set to the way I have them in my resource management. So I've got iron as an input, and I don't know exactly what we can do with that. Let's see. I don't think we can do anything with it. Unless, yeah, I don't think I can do anything with it. But anyway, iron oxide would normally be split. Well, I don't have that. That's just iron that I did for something with the game. So now we're going to look at something here. If I hit C again, it doesn't work. I thought I could zoom out. Well, let's go to the map. So this is the map of Gale. Is it Gale? Yeah, this is Gale Crater. So you can see we don't have access to that other valley that was way down in the back here. We just don't have access to it. All we have access to is like where this stream is. Guessing that everything went to the south or whatever, you know, maybe. I'm still guessing that we want to be in that stream looking for the olivine, maybe some of the other sulfur and some of the other magnesium and all of that stuff is going to be towards the south. So if the crater or the valley is down there, so probably, you know, we'll do a lot of looking in this area, I would guess. let me go back to the map here. If we click on resources, this is where it gets tricky. You will see these quadrangles, and each one of these quadrangles has a certain amount of resource that you find out by using the tool. And they're pretty good sized squares, and they run about 1,500 each for probably for rock and soil, and even an atmosphere for that area. So my thinking is that the best place to park our outpost is going to be in an area that's in the middle of these 4 squares. And how exactly we're going to do that. Let's see, wait. If I take resources off, it does not actually give me a location, does it? There's communication, but I'm not really on there. So that would be interesting to figure out exactly how we can figure out where we're going to be. Because it's hard to find everything. And I don't have access to the map on... We're sort of up here, I think, in this white area. But I'll figure that out at some point. What I want to do is I want to do something really quick in the editor and show you how that all works. And we'll just, so you can see, kind of see the area here. So we don't have access to that. We only have access to this area down there. There's that other crater that we were looking at. There's a lot of opportunity along the side of the mountains here to collect. There's a lot of erosion right there, but we don't know the size of the grid squares or anything. We have to figure that out, I guess, somehow. So we can zoom down here, take a look at this stuff. You can kind of see how the wind is blowing. It's sort of blowing that way. So we'd probably want to put our place that's protected from the wind. See, there's a quiet spot there. See, there's quiet spots. So there's quiet areas. I don't think that's a representation of that valley. Anyway, I'm just gonna go back down here. So when we start the game, we have these things called supply containers. We might have a ship that's stuck somewhere. See, it's windy right there. See, look at all those rocks. Alright, so let's put a man here. Just grab an astronaut, and we're going to put him right here. We set everything to true to start a single player. And then we just give it a title. I'll call it EE1. I can't because I already named it that. Let's call it D1 and see if that works. I gotta start erasing all my stuff. Now I can put all these other supplies in, like the cable, like this. You can add all this stuff in there, but in the beginning of the game you get what's called you get a supply drop. And that's all we have to work with is that supply drop. Exactly, that's in the rover section here. So there's the supply drop, and then you just right click and you find a place for that, and then you just create one and it shows up. There's some of these probes. I don't even know exactly. I haven't been able to play with the science part of the stuff yet. That's a basic probe. That's a 0G probe. There's another probe there. There's some rovers. Small rover. Medium rover. Actually, let's put the advanced there and see what it looks like. I haven't looked at any of this stuff, okay? I've been working on the resources part of this game for about 2 months. These are rovers. I don't even know if you can drive them or what. I have no idea. Man maneuvering unit. Oh, there's the science car and the buggy. I thought put some vehicles in there. Oh, there's the forklift. These are things that we can actually build once we get the game going. But anyway, and then there's the ascent vehicles, which has things in them, like the laboratory table and the sample. You get that, and that will tell you how much soil is in an area. It doesn't really matter because it's about 1,200 with each one of those areas. Now, let's say that we've got an area that we want to explore, and when we start the game, we don't know where the olivine is. Okay, so we can describe on scenario start, on enter, things like that, to tell a person how to play the resource game. There's events, there's scripts that you can do, there's timers, there's supply drop landing zones. That seems to be for co-op. Let's say if we put an explore area there, and you know, we could do like let's see, on scenario start. Okay, then what we'll do is click on that, properties, Trigger by vehicles. I don't really know that much about how to set all of this up yet, actually. Wait, I just go back to here. On enter. Crap. Alright, so like I could go back to the other one. Well, there's another one in there. Alright, I clicked it right there. So, trigger by vehicles, trigger once. Trigger by a dynamic object, trigger by a ragdoll, which would be like me. On enter, and then maybe that's an event script. Alright, so I'm actually creating an event script in there, and you can change the size, or I can create another one out here. And let's say it has a script here, script default. I guess you go in there and create a script for it. I thought that a lot of this was already there. Like, I don't know. I haven't messed with this stuff yet. Event timer, event effects. This is strange. I thought I could change all of this. I can't seem to change anything in this anymore. Huh. See, I can move this around. Well, that's interesting. I think that's... Let me go to just save this. I can't seem to do anything with these. Oh, there's an explore. So let's say he goes in there. I don't know, just stuff to play with. Let's say the explore area. Alright, it's a major. We edit this, and we do something like access to geology. So we add that. I thought there was something else I could do in here. Description. Title, description, and result. Enable on complete sub-targets. Mission parameter. Huh. I don't know, I can't seem to do what I want to do for some reason. But anyway, let's say that this particular area has the olivine in it, and that's the only place in that particular square that you can hunt for, that you can mine for the olivine. That's how I would set that up. Now, if I save this, let's see, save, and then we'll go to the scenario. So that's basically pretty much what I have to do. Is I have to select an area and say, okay, this particular type of material is only going to be located in that area. And in other words, it's sort of an honor system, I guess. Stuff like that usually happens. Just weird things when it starts. All of that's going to end up being ironed out of the game anyway. Let's walk over here and see. Oh wait, we got some notifications. Those are just from Rover stuff. I have to ask some questions about all of that. Let's see what we got over here. Here's the probe, the 0G probe. Which I can't seem to do anything with. Maybe the data pad uses it or something. Cute. Oh, there, it's showing the different parts on the little probe. I might have to do a little reading to see if you can even use any of this stuff. I know. Maybe you can run a script. Maybe you have to run scripts with these things, and then they just go to the area and they find your stuff. There's a little mini buggy and the forklift. I want to try this forklift. What ironed out? Not sure what you mean by what ironed out. I'm not sure how to raise the, They said the forklift was pretty useful in this game. Oh, something's happening there. right here. I lost the tongs. Well, that works, but I don't. If there's another key in here, I have no idea what. Oh, there's some different colored views in there. Anyway, what I want to do is look at the map here. And we'll hit M. For some reason, the map's not working. Alright, well, that's interesting. Let me load up another scenario here. I wanted to get an idea of how the little quadrangles, how big those small quadrangles are, to figure out how we would get most of our equipment if we can see where that area is. I don't know why the map didn't work in the other. Now see, it's not showing where I am here. Not quite sure why. Mission. Interesting. Lots of things to learn about how to get the mission together and the scenario, so I have to figure that out, and I think for the most part I got my resources figured out. I mean, some of them seem to be a little bit off. I'll have to change that, but I think it's workable. I gotta figure out how to put the stuff where I want to in the mission. That's gonna take me a little bit longer than I thought, because I thought that I could, I guess I have to go in and actually make changes to scripts, which I'll have to do some more research on that. That's really weird. Wait, let me go back to the editor. basic terrain, composition of Martian something. Here it is here. Martian soil. Analyze target properties. So you can go through a whole bunch of stuff here. Like maybe there's a rock there, a stone. And you have to use the spectrometer. And that's I believe that's a tool that you get in the game. So there might be this rock right here. Use the spectrometer on a rock. Let's go through this list. What's this? Something called beaten slime, rubber, dirt, subsurface, so went around the bend there. These are different things we can put in the game. There's rocks there, there's trees, buildings. I actually wanted to put, that's a lander, MDV debris, lander control panel. I wanted to put a broken lander in. I wonder if it's in this list here. These are first three crates, lander buggy, barrel, lander leg, lander ramp, landing gear. Lunar lander. Lunar lander. Mere spirit. That's a rover, I think. Yes. So if we wanted to add a rock in here. This is oh, that's really huge. So we click on the rock, and then we can move this. However we want. Now here it's the property says not to show it. So we'll hide it in that area. Properties show. Interesting. Let's see what this is. some of these have different sizes, and I want to figure out. That's the big one there. And manned landing. Does it man small landing module? And a big one. Let's just see what this does here. Kind of curious. I want to get rid of this weather. So I have to do a little bit of research on how to create that mission. I didn't think it was going to be quite as complicated, but that's okay. It's not such a big deal. I think I ended the editor, didn't I? I'm supposed to go back to the scenario. So I will do some more research on. That lander's just landed. It just landed. Over my head or something. There's the rock. Oh, now I can see that there's more lag here. There's a lot more lag in the game. It's really bouncing around quite a bit now with those landers in there. Oh, there's the rock that I put down. There's there's nothing that tells me to explore this area. So I gotta work on that and figure that all out. Somewhere under one of these things is I don't think it's that one. I think it's this other one. It's got there's a buggy inside there. When we play the mission, we won't have all of this stuff in here. Let's see if we can even get in here. This is access denied. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more bouncy with this stuff in here. We won't have 3 spaceships and half a dozen rovers floating around anyway. I wonder if this is it. I think that's somehow you can open this up and there's a buggy in there or something. Oh, there's the button right there. Let's see if it works. Yep, there's a buggy. First time I ever seen this, that thing's gonna roll right out on top of me probably. I might want to try something. I want to get in that buggy and go away from the area and see if the lag is not so bad. Well, he can't quite get in there, can he? not even doing anything. That's not good. That actually stopped it. Let me go back down. When I went to that exterior view, it's actually working better now. There's some lag. Oh, let me see something here. Interesting. That seemed to be shaking now when I went to the exterior view and back. I mean, it's still bouncier. Oh, it's doing it again. It's going into this oscillating mode. Oh, it stopped. If I can get around this thing. Alright, we're gonna go for a little ride here. Maybe. I gotta be on the right side of the vehicle. I just want to see how bouncy this thing is. Do I get away from it? As long as he doesn't die in the process. Let's see if I can get to the map here. Okay, good. Now I can get to the map. Let's see what we got here. Well, of course that... Oh, well, everything is showing up now. It might be because one of the spaceships acts as... That must be me. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, you know what? These could be... Oh, you know what this is? I think the rover has inherent missions. I think change vehicle need. Execute the assigned task to be considered. Complete all tasks of major scientific value to be carried out. That's the zero-G probe. thing's gonna fly over there? Interesting. I'm kind of curious to know if that's what it's gonna do. It's still... I see something here. It's a lot less jumpier when he's not in his suit. Probably should have drove back. It made a lot more sense. Well, I want to look at those quadrangles. That's basically the whole idea here. Oh, look, I left some tracks. That's pretty cool. I can find my way back if everything... Oh, that's what that noise is, to put in tanks and stuff. Let's look at the map. And zoom in here. That's supply. Humility. One of these is that 0G. That's wonder. Let's try something here. Click on this. Well, it's just sitting there. I don't know if that's a 0G Pro. Coolest area here. Alright, let's go up here. Alright, now we're gonna grab resources. I can hardly see those lines. So if I drive a little further, that was night vision. And actually, as a matter of fact, there's a map on So it's actually showing me. And the buggy's at one corner. So that's not. I think. Yeah, I already went past a. So if I gotta turn left a little bit here. There's the buggy. Let's go to the map again. Hit resources again. And what did I do? Go the wrong way. Oh, these are smaller. Oh, wait a minute, that's not me. So I'm right there at about a corner. So now I can see how big that square is. I gotta do this again. So I'm wondering now about, that's a 4x4 area, and I'm wondering about an 8 or twice that size is what I'm wondering. Like, where would it be? So if that's one square there, and twice the distance would be from me to the rover outside of him. So we've got a 4x4 area right where I'm standing, and then outside of that it would be, let's see, I have to go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. So that's 12 more squares of resources. So that's got to be doable. So if I went, let's see if I go up here, and all I gotta do is get inside another square, 2 squares away. Let's say if I went way over here, and let's say that I put a rock collector up against this rock here. The middle of the second square over. So that's very doable. Absolutely very doable. The only thing that's not doable is the fact that he's jumping around a lot. The spaceships are not going to be there. Maybe they're causing the lag. I wonder, let's see, let's go back here. Let's take out the 3 spaceships, just for kicks. Let's go to the editor. So I'm a little bit going above and beyond the actual video. But it gives you a demo of the game itself. So we're going to load D1. it says change to static. See, now I don't know how to delete. If I go to, it says it's doesn't even tell me what it is. Well, there's lander probe. It's these landers. See, there's 3 vehicles there. Spawn landing towards the cursor position. Spawn object at camera position. Spawn object at cursor. Yeah, see, it got rid of everything. That's what I thought was going to happen. That's not what I wanted. I thought I could just delete. Let me go back and load this up again. Now we're getting more into the aspects of the editor. I'm gonna stop the stream. I think it's pretty much as far as, you know, I gotta create these areas, and the guy has to know. Okay, he goes into the mission and says, okay, such and such of areas located in quadrangle whatever, and that's pretty much it, I think. And then I still have a lot of work to do, but I think everything will work out. I think it'll work out good.